Greetings everyone, I'm teacher Joan Nachans, and today we are discussing about the computer hardware. We said that computer hardware has gotten different categories, which include the input hardware, the output hardware, the storage hardware, and the processing hardware. So what you're seeing on your screen are some examples of computer hardware devices. But remember, we said that the other categories we've looked at has gotten some details in them. So we started off with what we called the input hardware or the input devices. We said that these input devices enable the user enter different data into the computer, and we said that input hardware or input devices are also categorized into a number of categories, which categories we said that pointing devices is part of those categories. So today we are looking at what we call the pointing devices in details. A pointing device is an input device which allows users to move a pointer and make a selection on the computer screen. So when we talk of computer pointing devices, we mean that input device which is going to allow you move your cursor or move your pointer and make selections of what you want from your screen or from your computer screen. Like you see on your screen, I'm moving my pointer around the screen. So these pointing devices input spatial data into the computer, and we have a number of examples of the pointing devices, as you can see. Number one, we have what we call the stylus pen and digitizing tablet. We shall look at it in details, what it means, its purpose, and then we shall have a chance of looking at each example, how, as in the diagram of that example, how it looks like. So we also have what we call the cordless mouse as our other example. Then we have what we call the trackball. Then we have what we call the touchpad. For example, those ones that are using the laptops, you have your touchpads as the ones you use for moving the pointer, and the ones you use as your mouse. We also have the light pen as another example of the pointing devices, and we also have the touch screen, and then we have what we call the track point. So we are going to look at these examples in details. We are going to see how these examples look like. We are going to see what these examples do. Starting off with the stylus pen and the digitizing tablet. So we have two diagrams on our screen. We have the stylus pen and then the digitizing tablet. So what you see on the screen as the pen is what we call the stylus pen, and then the digitizing tablet is where you're supposed to write using the stylus pen. So the stylus pen is used for writing on the digitizing tablet. Next, we also have, you can look at the definition or the brief explanation of the stylus pen. A stylus pen is a pen-like device used to make drawings on a digitizing tablet. So you can use that pen and then the digitizing tablet to do so. Another example, we have the mouse, and we see that this mouse is a handheld input device used to point to and make selections of items on the screen. So we see that this mouse is a handheld input device used to point to and make selections of items on the screen. So you can just see that it is a pointing and an input device. So a mouse has 3 buttons, i.e. the left button, the right button, and the scroll button. So if you look at your mouse, you can see that we have 3 buttons on that mouse. We have on our left hand side, we have what we call the left button. On the right, we have what we call the right button. And in between, we have what we call the scroll button. This black button is what we call the scroll button. So this mouse, a mouse also has gotten what we call the sensor, and the sensor is found under surface. If you turn your mouse, you can see that there is this is what we call the sensor for the mouse. And if it is not working, your mouse will not work as well, because it is the one that senses whatever you're doing with that mouse. We also have a number of types of mouse. We have what we call the mechanical mouse, we have what we call the optical mouse, we have what we call the cordless mouse, and a trackball mouse. Alright, so we look at what we call the cordless mouse. Cordless as in the word cordless. So this cordless mouse is a wireless mouse. It has gotten nothing like a cable, nothing like a wire. So as you can see it from the diagram here, you don't see anything like a wire connected onto this mouse. So that's why it is called cordless. It has gotten no cord on it. It runs on a battery. So one may ask, if at all it has no cable connected on it, then how am I going to use it to detect whatever I want to detect from my computer? So this mouse here uses what we call the batteries. So you put the batteries in the mouse, and if the batteries are done, you replace them with the new ones. When you move the mouse, it sends an infrared beam to a sensor, which interprets it, causing the pointer to move. So that is what we call the cordless mouse. We move on to the trackball. So these are the types of mice we looked at. So the trackball looks like that, as you see it in the diagram, and this trackball is an upside down mouse that remains stationary on your disk. So this kind of mouse doesn't move, it is stationary. So you place it on your desk and start using it while stationed there. We have advantages of using a mouse. Why do you think it is important? Of what use is a mouse? So first of all, this mouse is user friendly to computer beginners. If you're starting using the computers, it is advised to use the mouse because it is user friendly. Then it is easier and convenient to use with graphical user interfaces. So it is very easy to use. Then using a mouse to select items or to move to a particular position on the screen is faster than using a keyboard. So you see that if you want to use your mouse, if you're using your mouse to select some items, you'll find it actually faster other than using the keyboard. You put on the shift, you start scrolling down, selecting A, B, C, D, whatever you want to select. So you find that someone who has used the mouse is actually doing it faster than you who is using a keyboard. After looking at the advantages of using a mouse, we want to look at the disadvantages of using a mouse. So it is not easy and convenient to input text using a mouse. That is our first disadvantage or demerit. So you see that this mouse is important, but the keyboard is also important, because now for this course you cannot find it very easy to use a mouse, enter text into your computer. But for the keyboard, you'll find it easy to enter text into your computer. Then the other disadvantage, it is slower at issuing commands into the computer compared to the keyboard. So you find out that using a mouse to issue commands will actually be slower compared to the other person that using the keyboard. Another one, it requires some practice in order to control a mouse properly. So you cannot just wake up and start using a mouse. You will need some practice for you to use it properly. Another disadvantage, it is not accurate enough for drawings that requires high precision. And lastly, it usually requires a flat surface to be used. So you cannot use it on any surface. You will need a flat surface to be able to use that mouse. So those have been our demerits of using a mouse, and we shall move on to the next pointing device, which is the touchpad. And on your screen you can see that we have our touchpad drawn there. So that is the touchpad. Those ones that have the laptops, you can look at your laptops and see where that touchpad is found, and actually you can use it to use it practically and see how it works. A touchpad is actually common on laptop computers. It has sensors that sense your touch and send a signal to the computer to move the mouse pointer to that location on the screen. So this touchpad is basically found on the laptop computers, and it has gotten a sensor in it which senses actually your touch. As you're touching onto the touchpad, it senses whatever you want to sense, and it will allocate the pointer to your selection, to your decided selection. So that is the touchpad. You touch here and you start selecting whatever you want to select. So as we said, that actually this touchpad works like a mouse, and we said that a mouse has gotten the left button and the right button. One may ask, how about the touchpad? If I want to left click, if I want to right click, what do I do? Do I need a touchpad and a mouse at the same time? No. So if you want to left click and right click, we have here our two buttons. You can use the one on the left side is used for left clicking, and the one on the right side is used for right clicking. So we also have what we call the light pane as another pointing device, and we can also see here in the diagram we have our light pane. This is how it looks like, and this light pane is a form of a light sensitive rod used in conjunction with a computer's CRT monitor. That is our light pane. So we have our light pane, and you can see it from the diagram. Then we have said that it is a form of a light sensitive rod used in conjunction with a computer's CRT monitor. What do we mean? So we can actually use this light pane on the CRT monitor, but you have to note that it can only be used on the CRT monitor, not on the LCD monitors. So you can use it to draw whatever you want to draw on your screen, on the CRT screen. It allows the user to point to displayed objects or draw on the screen in a similar way to a touch screen, but with greater positional accuracy. So we say that this light pen can be used to point to displayed objects, or you can as well as use it to draw on the screen or you can as well as use it to actually draw on your touch screen, but you have to make sure that you have greater positional accuracy. For example, there are some smartphones actually that come along with these light pens. You hold your light pen and draw anything on your screen, or and go on select anything on your smartphone screen. Alright, here we have a diagram of the CRT monitor. We have the diagram of the light pen connected onto the CRT monitor. So you can see how you can connect your light pen onto the CRT monitor, and from there you can just start off drawing whatever you want to draw on the CRT monitor. A light pen can work with any CRT based display, but not with LCD screens, projectors, and other display devices. This is just emphasizing on what I've just told you, that you can only use the light pen on the CRT based displays or on the CRT monitors. So you cannot use this light pen on the LCD screens, you cannot use the light pen on the projectors, and you cannot use it on any other display devices. So that is all about the light pen and how to use it, how to connect it onto the CRT based monitor. Lastly, we have the touch screens. This is going to be our last pointing device, our last example of the pointing devices. Here we have two diagrams. We have the diagram of the smartphone, we have the diagram of the smart TV. So you can see that actually both diagrams can be used as touch screens. You use your phone to touch whatever you want to touch, to select whatever you want to select using your finger. So these phones, the smartphones and the smart TVs, have gotten sensors in them which are actually used for sensing your fingers, and whatever you touch on, you see that it is sensed and it is recognized. A touch screen is a touch sensitive input display device, and users can interact with these devices by touching areas of the screen. So you can touch any area on your screen to see that your touch screen is actually sensitive. It is often used for information kiosks located in departments. So that is how we can use our touch screens. You can use it to touch on whatever you want to touch and allocate whatever you want to allocate on either your smart TV or on the smartphone and so on. Alright, today we are going to end here. So we have looked at the pointing devices, and we have said that we have a number of examples which we've just discussed, including the stylus pen and the digitizing tablet. We've looked at the touchpad, we've looked at the cordless mouse, we've looked at the trackball, we've looked at the light pen, and lastly we've looked at the touch screen. Thank you so much. I remain Joy Nachans. Next time we